Hi, I'm Miss Higgins and I teach fourth grade, and I'm going to be starting with chapter 21. It's called First Night. To understand what happened next, you need to know how Mouse and I became friends. I arrived at Dogtown last winter. A new snow had fallen, and there was a howling wind that bit through my fur. Even a husky needed a parka in the bitter cold we were having. Management took one look at me and tossed me in a cage at the back of the basement. She knew from experience that nobody wants a dog with three legs. The plan was to wait until enough time went by and they could put me on the list. I didn't know that then. I had no idea there was such a thing as a list, but I know now. Like every other newcomer to Dogtown, my heart was broken. I missed curling up in the furry blanket at the foot of Jessie's bed. I missed the jingle of my leash and the squeak of the school bus store when Jessie came home. I missed pepperoni pizza, pulled pork, and chasing pigeons in the park, but mostly I missed Jessie and Professor Besser. I slept during the day and stared out the tiny basement window at night. I memorized the stars and grew familiar with the train whistles. I could tell the time of day by the sounds of the toots. Dogtown had heat, only it didn't work very well in the basement. It felt like minus 25. My kibbles were popsicles, my water bowl had iced over, and the cement floor was like an ice skating rink. So I did what dogs all over the world do when we are unhappy. I barked. But all I got for my trouble was a sore throat. Chapter 22, Bad Speller. Those were terrible days. Worse than the cold was the loneliness. I woke up hearing my little Jessie calling my name. I imagined her so clearly. Jessie with the fuzzy pigtails and a smile so radiant that every dog in the dog park ran to her. I pined for Jessie's mother, Professor Besser. I ached to have my belly rubbed, my fur stroked, my left ear massaged in that special way. Even when management came by, it was only for a moment or two. With 100 dogs to care for and nowhere near enough help, they could barely keep up with the basics: food, water, cage cleaning. Now and then, they'd pat me on the head. But a belly rub? Too many bellies, not enough minutes in the day. I wondered if I had enough kibble left in my bowl to write a note. Spelling has never been my strong suit. My grammar is not so hot either. In human, anyway. I'm fluent in dog. I moved the kibble around until I had my message, but then the wind gusted down the corridor and blew away the pellets that read, "I need to be petted." Chapter 23, Volunteers. I ran into a few dogs at Dogtown who'd done time in other shelters. They claimed Dogtown wasn't half bad compared to those places, mostly because there were so many volunteers who helped out. The volunteers were all right. I mean, what kind of person volunteers to pick up poop? You could smell the kindness on those people. Also, the dog poop. And management, she was doing the best she could, but she was outnumbered. There are a whole lot of unwanted dogs in the world, it seems. Dogs, dogs, dogs. Chapter 24, Supper Time. Supper time was the worst. I'd always eaten my supper with the Bessers in the TV room. I wasn't used to eating alone. I missed the blueberry pancake smell of Jessie and the toasted almonds and vanilla fodder smell of Professor Besser. That was back when I hadn't give up hope. I'd see Jessie and Professor Besser again. Back then, every footstep sounded like theirs. Every person looked like them. Every time the basement door opened, I was sure it was them. Mostly what I heard was the whistle of the train and the clanking of the railroad crossing gates. I looked out at the long row of empty cages and I breathed in the bitter ammonia of loneliness. I did all the usual things to keep myself occupied. I scratched my ears, I gnawed my paws, I cleaned myself, and I dreamed of my bowl at the Bessers, full of dumplings and drippings, burgers and bacon, chicken bites, and big chunks of chili beef. Dogtown kibble tasted like tree bark. I couldn't eat it. I had just begun chewing the chain link when a small brown mouse made a dash for my dish. I jumped up, my hackles raised. But at the last second, I held my growl. It had been such a long time since I'd been near another creature. I suddenly realized I was happy to share the contents of my kibble bowl. What was the harm? Chapter 25, Mouse. Mouse lived in a safe little hideaway above cage 91. Management didn't know about Mouse's house because she didn't like schlepping down to the basement any more than anybody else did. Mouse wasn't jumpy the way most mice are, and he was exceptionally intelligent. He knew how to read, and he was trilingual. Mouse, human, dog. And besides that, he was crafty. He could get anywhere in Dogtown without being seen. That night, I watched him set about the business of rolling kibble across the cement to the back of the pen. Then, one by one, he'd take them in his mouth, climb the chain link to the knothole in the corner, and disappear inside. A minute later, he'd appear again, scramble down, retrieve another kibble, and climb back up. He made 5 trips, then nodded his thanks and disappeared into the knothole door. I hadn't eaten much since I'd arrived at Dogtown, but seeing another creature's interest in my dinner made me hungry. I finished all of my kibble that night. Mouse was small, so I figured 5 kibble bits would last the better part of a week, but the next day, he was back. That's when I figured out he was feeding a whole lot of other mice up there. I looked forward to Mouse's visits. Every day I would wait for him to come down, take his 5 kibbles, and nod his thank you, and every evening his visit gave me back my appetite. It doesn't sound like much, but Mouse, the train whistles, and the stars in the night sky got me through the long winter in Dogtown. Chapter 26, Puppy Season. Spring is puppy whelping season. That means lots of puppies are born in Dogtown or dropped off in wooden crates or cardboard boxes. Puppies can't be adopted until they are 8 weeks old, so new dog moms were assigned to the basement. Soon puppy yips and yaps, whines and whimpers rang through the air. We had litters of peekapoos, pugapoos, cockapoos, and havapoos. And yet, more came. What would management do with all those dogs? Then Buster had another bounce back. I can't remember if that was the time he chewed the teacher's grade book or ate an entire wedding cake. Maybe it was when he peed in the heater vent and the whole house smelled like the side of a fire hydrant all winter long. Anywho, Buster was back and explained to me about the list. Ever wonder what happens to the dogs that don't get adopted? He asked. What was he talking about? The dogs that didn't get adopted just stayed in Dogtown, didn't they? But when I looked over at him, he was doing a trick I'd never seen him do before. He was playing dead. That's when I began to put the pieces of the milk bone together. Chapter 27, Lucky Dog. I mentioned that management liked to play poker, but I don't think I told you how serious they were about it. Every Wednesday after work, all the Dogtown humans sat in the back room with their heads hunched over their cards. There were big stacks of poker chips, pizza, pretzels, and potato chips piled all around. So there I was thinking I'd been at Dogtown too long. Management had me on the list. I was headed for the great dog park in the sky when something strange happened. The 3 of hearts showed up on my cage. The card was stuck in the chain link. When management saw it, she came thundering out to my pen, followed by a front desk and 3 volunteers. No one could figure out how the 3 of hearts got from the back room to the basement, or why it was there. On Tuesday, the 3 of spades appeared in the same place the 3 of hearts had been. On Wednesday, it was the 3 of diamonds. By then, there was a real hullabaloo. Front desk girlfriend, management's husband, and a bunch of volunteers and their kids came to see me. Look at her, a volunteer who smelled like bananas pointed at me. She's posing by the cards. Okay, that was true. Who doesn't like to feel special? Front desk girlfriend rolled her eyes. You do know it's not possible for a dog to open her pen, go into the back room, get a deck of cards, find all the 3s, and stick them in the fence, right? Let us have our fun, front desk whispered. Front desk girlfriend snorted. You guys are out of your minds. Don't you believe in luck? A tall volunteer with peanut butter breath asked. Front desk girlfriend shook her head. This has nothing to do with luck. Well, I could use some good luck, front desk answered. Hey, I have an idea. We could give Chance the run of the place and spread the luck around. A little girl stuck her sticky fingers through the fence and I cleaned them off for her. Everyone could get a lucky lick, she said. Peanut butter breath opened the pen so I could come out. Friendliest dog here. I thought it was just me she liked, another volunteer said when I nuzzled her. Peanut butter breath squatted down to pet me. That's her genius. She makes everyone feel like her favorite. You can't let her run free, management's husband said. She'll run away. Have you seen her move? She's not going anywhere, front desk said. Management ran her hand over my head. I suppose. We could give it a try, but poker night, she sits with me. So that's how I got the run of the place and a home under the poker table. Lucky for them, lucky for me. Chapter 28, Watchdog. There isn't a dog in the world that doesn't have a little watchdog in her. And I'm no exception. So yes, I did know how the cards appeared in the chain link, which is why every supper time I hop down the stairs to the basement with a mouthful of kibble for Mouse. Here's another thing humans are sadly misguided about. Luck is not a winning hand of cards. Luck is making a new friend. Chapter 29, Dog Language. All dogs are bilingual. We understand the language our humans speak and our dog language. Mouse, as I mentioned, was trilingual, but without the proper voice box required for speech, Mouse uses sign language to communicate his thoughts. Mouse learned all of this growing up in Dogtown, but Meadowhead didn't grow up in Dogtown or anywhere else for that matter. Meadow dogs don't get older or wiser. One day you plug them in and that's it. So how come Meadowhead spoke dog? He had said it was because he paid attention, but I didn't see how a meadow dog could learn the way we do. And if they could, then we are in big trouble. If meadow dogs become more real, then where would that leave us?